to look at, and 90% of the time this will be the level of normalization that your database will follow. So for tables to be in third normal form, they must conform to second normal form, and also every column that is not a primary key must only be dependent on the whole of the primary key. So this sounds a little bit like second normal form, but every column that's not a primary key must only be dependent on the whole of the primary key. So any column which is not a primary key cannot depend on any other column which is not a primary key. So this sounds pretty complicated, so let's look at this with an example. So here we have a table which is storing data on the star pupil for every subject and every year. So every year this school runs a competition to see who the star pupil is for each subject. So we have the subject, we have the year, we have the student which was the star pupil, and we also have the star pupil's date of birth. So let's check if this is in third normal form. Well, to do that we have to check that it's in second normal form, and to do that we have to check whether it's in first normal form. So is this table in first normal form? Well, we can see we have no duplicate rows of data. Every row here is unique. We have only one entry for each column, so each column only has one value for each row. And we also have a primary key. So our primary key is subject plus year. So we can't just have subject, because if you see here we have math 2015 and math 2016, and we have a different star pupil for each year. And similarly we can't just use year, because we can see we have 2015 entered 3 times, 2016 entered twice, so this year is not unique. We need the subject plus the year to be able to uniquely identify each row within this table. So yes, this table is in first normal form, so let's check if it's in second normal form. So now we need to check whether every column which is not a primary key, so this star pupil column and the star pupil date of birth, is dependent on the whole of the primary key. So first let's check star pupil and see whether that depends on the whole of the primary key. And you can see that it does. We can't just say subject math star pupil Matthew Taylor, because you can see the 4th row down we have math again, and we have a different star pupil. We need to say math plus 2015 to get Matthew Taylor, and similarly we can't just say the year. We can't just say 2015 Matthew Taylor, because we also have 2015 William Edwards, 2015 Georgina Simon. So we need the subject plus the year to be able to say who the star pupil is. So this star pupil column does depend on the whole of the primary key, and not just on separate columns that make up the primary key. And it's the same for the star pupil date of birth. We can't say what the date of birth is if we only have the subject or we only have the year. We need the whole of the primary key, we need the subject plus the year to be able to say what the star pupil date of birth is. So both of these columns, which are not primary keys, do depend on the whole of the primary key, so we can say that this table is in second normal form. So now we need to check whether this table is in third normal form. So to be in third normal form it needs to be in second normal form, plus any non-primary key column must be dependent on only the whole of the primary key. So first let's check star pupil, and we can see yes, this only depends on the primary key subject plus year. So it doesn't matter about any other column in this table. The star pupil just depends on which subject and which year it was. So now let's check star pupil date of birth. Well, we know that this does depend on subject plus year, so the whole of the primary key. But really it also depends on the star pupil. So the date of birth of the star pupil obviously depends on who the star pupil is. So you have this 2-step dependency between the whole of the primary key subject plus year and the star pupil date of birth. So the star pupil is dependent on the whole of the primary key, and then the star pupil date of birth is dependent on the star pupil. So we can't say that this table is in third normal form because the star pupil date of birth also depends on a column which is a non-primary key column, the star pupil. So this table is not in third normal form. So now the question is, how do we make this table follow third normal form? And to do that, we need to split this table into two separate tables. So the first table is going to look like this. We have the subject and the year, and then we just have the star pupil. So let's check whether this is in third normal form. So is it in first normal form? Well, yes. We have no repeated rows of data. They're all unique. We have no column which has more than one value for each row. And we also have a primary key, which is subject plus year. So this table is in first normal form. So now we need to check whether it's in second normal form. So does any non-primary key column depend on the whole of the primary key? So does this star pupil column depend on the whole of the primary key? Well, yes, it does, because we can't just tell by the subject who the star pupil is, and we can't just tell by the year who the star pupil is. We need subject plus year. So we need physics plus 2015 to be able to tell that it was William Edwards, and we need maths plus 2016 to tell that the star pupil was Benjamin Long. So this table is in second normal form. So now we need to check whether it's in third normal form. So does any column, which is a non-primary key column, depend on only the whole of the primary key? So the obvious answer is yes, because we only have one column which is non-primary key, the star pupil. So it can only depend on the whole of the primary key. There's no other non-primary key columns for this column to depend on. So yes, this table is in third normal form. So now we need to check on the table which is containing the star pupil's date of birth. So here we have a table containing star pupil and star pupil date of birth. So let's check whether this is in third normal form. So is it in first normal form? Well, yes, it is. We have no repeated rows of data, and every column only has one value assigned to it. And we also have a primary key, and our primary key is the star pupil column. So this uniquely identifies each row within the table. So this table is in first normal form. So is it in second normal form? So is the star pupil date of birth related to the whole of the primary key? Well, the whole of the primary key is just one column, star pupil, and yes, the star pupil date of birth is dependent on who the star pupil is. So yes, this table is in third normal form. So now we need to check whether it's in third normal form. So third normal form means that any non-primary key is dependent only on the whole of the primary key. And as there's only one column which is a non-primary key, yes, the star pupil date of birth only depends on the primary key, which is the star pupil column. So this table is also in third normal form. So now our database is in third normal form. Now, as an example of third normal form, I showed you this table with the star pupil and the star pupil date of birth. But in reality, you wouldn't actually even need this table, because any school would already have a student table with every single student in it. So you could get the star pupil's date of birth from this student's table. But for an example of showing you third normal form, I included this table as well. So that's it for the levels of normalization. Obviously this was a lot of information to take in, so if you need to